Today we have NBA for Tuesday, 11/4, November 4th. And as you can see, the opening odds, well, the odds are on the screen. The opening odds were not really ready on multiple sports books, so we're not going to refer to those. It was just default values, and we're not going to go over that. But we're going to go over what we have here in the data that we have here, the splits in the current odds, and which way these odds will more than likely go to determine a winner. But as you can see, we're going to start with Milwaukee versus Toronto. Plus 144 for Milwaukee on the road. Minus 172 for Toronto at home. Plus 4.5 at minus 114 on the spread. 114 is the cost. 4.5 point favorites are the Raptors at minus 106 cost. Over unders at 237.5. Minus 110 cost for the over. Minus 110 cost for the under. And let's go where the splits are for this game. Now, currently, this is early in the morning, early Tuesday morning. 58% betting percentage for 58%. Sorry about that. 58% betting percentage for Milwaukee on the betting on the money line. 84% money on the money line for Milwaukee. So people looking to cash this out. Now, since this has gone live, the current odds that is, both teams have gone up in their respective directions on the odds. Just letting you know that now. 42% and 16% respectively betting to money on the money line for Toronto. 69% betting going with Milwaukee on the spread, 4.5 point underdogs. 71% money going with Milwaukee on the spreads, 4.5 point underdogs, getting 71% of the money. Over 237.5 is taking 77% of the betting and 78% of the money. And that is where we stand for this one. Now, when you see when you see the, where am I at? All right. When you see this, 84%, obviously that is more than likely going to decrease by game time. So, if you see Milwaukee decrease that 84%, while these odds collectively decrease. So let's say that goes in their respective directions, that is. Let's say Toronto goes to minus 164 and Milwaukee goes to plus 138, plus 136, something like that. What that does is that's somewhat like a pull. You get this minus 172 turns into minus 164. That decreases while these odds increase. So obviously if Milwaukee goes down on the splits here on the money, say they go to about 76%, 72%, that means they go to 24 or 28% Toronto on the money. While these odds go down, more than likely, that is when you need to pick Milwaukee. Any other way, go with Toronto in this game across the board. Look out for the odds decreasing while the splits decrease. If the odds increase at all while the splits stay the same or increase, then go with Milwaukee in this game. Over under, I would join the public and go with that over in this one. Philadelphia versus Chicago. Plus 102 for Philadelphia, minus 120 for Chicago. 1.5 point favorites are the Chicago Bulls at minus 108 cost, minus 112 cost, going with the road team 76ers on the spread. Over under 239.5, minus 110 cost going over, minus 110 cost going under. Now, what you see with this 239.5 right here, over 239.5, minus 110 cost. Let's see, minus 120 here. Chicago, minus 120. And hold on, let me scroll down. Go back up. All right, here we go. All right. 48% going with Philadelphia on the betting on the money line. 66% of the money is going with Philadelphia. Once again, this is another game people are looking to cash out with not a huge money line underdog plus 102. There's actually more of an advantage to the sports books when it's that low. But more than likely, people betting on when Philadelphia will increase. Now, as you can see, Philadelphia was higher with the odds before they increased. This went up from 60 to 66%. And as you notice, their money line decreased from plus 112 to plus 102. Indicator they could take this victory. But watch out what happens with this 34% on Chicago at that minus 120 money line cost. If you see them increase while this increases, they're going to win this game. Let's say they go up to 40%. 40% of the money on the money line. They're already getting 52% of the betting, over half. If you see this minus 120 turn into minus 132, and then Philadelphia goes back to plus 112, then you may want to consider going with Chicago. If you see that happen and the flip happens, Philadelphia goes up on the money while Chicago goes down on the money, then you want to go with Philadelphia in this one. The spread, more than likely, with it being so close, you want to go with the team that you pick on the money line. It's only 1.5 point favorites are the Chicago Bulls at home, but that's risky. Even that's risky on this spread because this minus 106, minus 108, minus 112, minus 108 going with the Bulls currently is a huge indicator. When you see that minus 108, the minus 112s hit slightly more than the minus 108s, and that has since been adjusted. It was minus 114, minus 106, minus 106 being with the Bulls. So they have increased. The only way Chicago is going to win this game, they increase here on the money line while they increase here on the splits. As well as, okay, they're getting just about 50-50 across the board. 46-52 for Philadelphia, 54-48 for Chicago. Just about 50-50 there. Minus 1.5, minus 108. Basically, who they're picking here, they're putting heavy money on the money line, not so heavy on the spread because the spread is so tight. Somewhat of a pick'em game, about 52%, 53% win percentage for Chicago. So, in that instance, that's where you want to go with the Bulls at home across the board if it remains this way and if it trends the way I told you guys to. Now, in this instance, the over is getting 86%, 78% of the money, 86% of the betting. Go with that over 239.5 and see how that works out. All right. Magic versus Hawks. Minus 174 for Magic on the money line, plus 144 for the Hawks. Minus 4.5 at minus 106 cost going with the road team. The Magic at minus 106 cost. 4.5 point underdogs are the Hawks at minus 114 cost. Over under 228.5, minus 110 cost going over, minus 110 cost going under. And let's see how this turns out. This minus 174 here. Well, let's see the splits real quick. Over under 228.5, minus 110 even. That's good that we're getting a minus 110 evens so far. That way we have something to build up on which way these odds are going to go with the totals, that is. Now, this minus 174, let's see what the splits are for this one. 62% going with Orlando on the money line, on the money. 61% of the betting. 56% of the betting going with Orlando on the spread. 60% of the money going with Orlando on the spread. Over 229.5 going with 80% of the betting. 81% of the money. So it's pretty much neck and neck with whomever is going with the betting. They're putting very similar amounts on the money across the board, money line, spread, and totals. So 62%, 60%, and 81%. Let's see where the odds are. Minus 174. Now these have decreased. This minus 174 has actually decreased on here. It was minus 178 to minus 174. Some sportsbooks have it minus 170. Orlando's odds are decreasing despite getting 62% of the money, and that has increased. which tells me you might want to look out for Atlanta at home in this game. They could take this one at home across the board in this game, the way the odds are moving now. Now, if you want to look at how Magic can win this game, they can hold this positioning, minus 174, while holding this positioning, over 60%. If they can consistently do that throughout the day and endure any, it's going to be turbulence. It's going to be ups and downs throughout the day up until game time. They can hold that minus 174. More than likely, it'll probably be minus 176, minus 180. But if they can hold that, you can go with Orlando in this one. But as it currently stands, Atlanta looks decent at home, and they're not getting as much money. So that's a huge indicator. But watch how this minus 174 turns out for the Magic. Over under 228.5, minus 110 cost. Naturally, people are going to pick the over in that one. Look out for the under in that one. Fade the public in that one as we speak. But that is only because the over is getting such a high percentage at that minus 110 cost. Whichever one has the higher negative, unless it's minus 105. If it's minus 105 cost on the totals, go with that. But whichever has the higher negative, go with that over or under. Let's go to the next one. Let me scroll down here a bit. All right. Charlotte versus New Orleans. Plus 112 for Charlotte on the road. Minus 132 for New Orleans at home. Plus 2 at minus 110 cost even for the Hornets on the road. 2-point favorites at minus 110 cost for the Pelicans. Over under 234.5. Minus 110 cost going with that over. Under is getting 234.5 minus 110 cost. All right. Minus 132 here for New Orleans is getting, let me scroll up. There's the second one here. All right. Hold on. There we go. A little bit offset depending on the websites you go with. 75% going with Charlotte on the money line, on the betting. They're only getting 39% of the money. Not a huge underdog, minus 112 they are currently. Minus 132 for New Orleans Pelicans getting 61%. Whenever you see that higher negative with the minus 132 here, plus 112, the minus 132s hit more than the plus 112s, especially when they have an advantage on these splits. So look out for New Orleans at home across the board in that one. Over 234.5, under 234.5. Let's see where the splits are going for that. 40 going with the over and 41% on the money going with that over. I would fade the public. And go with that over in this one. I would fade the public and go with that over only as it currently stands. But watch how those negatives adjust in this game. Now, Phoenix Suns versus Golden State Warriors. Plus 340 for Phoenix, minus 430 for Golden State. Now, plus 11, minus 114 cost there. Minus 11, minus 106 cost going with Golden State in this one. All right, we're going to go over the splits in a moment. Over 232.5, minus 112. This is the first offset total, the only offset total currently. Minus 112 going with that over. Under 232.5 getting that minus 108. Minus 430 here for Golden State. Let's see what the splits are. Scroll down. Sorry about that. All right, let me scroll back up. That's the 7th they got on there. All right. 13% going with Phoenix and 35% money going with Phoenix. 87% betting going with Golden State, 65% money going with Golden State. 58% going with Phoenix on the spread and 51% going with Phoenix on the money on the spread. Now, that is because the spread is so high, 11 points. There's an 11-point spread. They're inviting you to pick Phoenix in this game, and so far it's working, but not a huge bit, but it's working. And the Suns have a higher negative as well on the spread. But watch how that adjusts throughout the day. This is how they analyze whether an underdog is going to get the spread. If there's higher negative, maintains while getting a much larger percentage in the splits, the underdog is going to take that spread. If not, the favorite's going to win the spread because it makes no sense for them to have the underdog win that with a lower negative and they can't profit off of it more. Over under 232.5 minus 112 going with that over. Everybody's looking to go with that over in this one. I would join the public and go with that over, but watch how that higher negative adjusts in this game. 65% going with Golden State on the money, and 87% of the betting going with them in this game. With them being that higher negative, and it has increased, well, not by much. Last time I checked, it was minus 420. Now it's minus 430. I would go with Golden State in that one. All right, Oklahoma City versus the LA Clippers. Minus 295 for Oklahoma City, plus 240 for LA Clippers. 7.5 points for the Thunder on the spread, favored. Minus 106 cost, minus 114 cost going with the Clippers at plus 7.5 as an underdog at home. Over 222.5 at minus 110 cost going with the over. Under 222.5 at minus 110 cost going with the under. Let's see where the splits are for this one. All right, 88 and 78. No one has had a higher betting percentage. Obviously, they just won the championship, but no one has had a higher percentage on the splits than Oklahoma City so far this season, as far as people putting heavy money on them on the betting and the splits. 65 and 52. 65% of the betting going with Oklahoma City at 7.5, minus 7.5 as a favorite. 52% of the money going with Oklahoma City. Over under 222.5. 88% going with the on the betting, going with the over, and 86% going with the over in this game. People expecting this to be obviously this is the lowest total of the day. So people expecting this game to go higher than that. I would challenge that and go with the under. I would fade the public in that one. Minus 295 Oklahoma City and 7.5 here. Now, with this game being so late, they got to make this an entertaining one. And the only reason I would go with the Clippers in this one is for that entertainment value. Plus 240 for the Clippers looks promising based off of this 22%, 12% here. Not a high percentage at home for a favorite. But they are getting 48% of the money and 35% here while leading on the spread here. So, at the very least, pick the Clippers on the spread, but lean toward getting that advantage on that total. On the not the total, the money line, that is. Plus 240. Look out for them in this game. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. You guys take care. Pray every day. I've been Scott. Join the Patreon. All the picks are on